stand for the. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Councilperson Martin Bonet.
Yep.
Councilperson Bob.
Here.
Councilperson Draven.
Here.
Councilperson Lamb.
Here.
Vice White is absent.
We'll forgive him. Our first order of business is to approve the meeting minutes from January 9th and January 16th. Can I get a second for that? Leo seconds.
Yep.
Yes. 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 Public hearings and presentations, we do not have any. But we do have announcements. What do you guys got?
Announcements?
Says here, number 6.
The DPW is doing a bang up job keeping roads clear.
I'm wondering if anyone else has seen the Tompkins County Health Department survey that's gone around. I want to do a survey of health in the various towns, and I got one sent to me, and first thing I wanted to do before I told everyone to do it, but see if you got it. Did anyone else get it?
I think I did. I didn't finish it though.
Okay,
No.
well, maybe I'll share that.
How long is it going on for? Is it something we could put in the,
I think it goes in, yes, that would be a good idea. We'll put it in our newsletter.
yeah, thank you.
Spring, you're an ideas person. They would appreciate that. A friend of mine does the public information for the health department, and she wanted to know if we knew about it. So I'll share that with Cassie. Rick is out plowing roads, as you might imagine, so we're gonna forgive him for his absence. I think he's doing a knock-up job, but weather's given him all the challenges he could possibly want. Which moves us right along to the planning department update with
Okay.
Ray Berger.
The monthly planning department update is on the web, and it mostly is about projects that are further on our agenda. But it also this month includes all the activity numbers for 2024. So each month I report the monthly totals. This month I was able to put in the 2024 totals, so you can see a comparison there. So we had a pretty healthy year as far as the first couple of metrics are dwelling units. We had 98 built in the town. Typically we'll have in like 25, 30 just single family homes. The reason why this number is bumped up is because a couple of larger projects like the 43 townhomes at 1061 Dryden Road in Varna, and then which are getting pretty close to completion. They're just doing finishing work. And then another one of the larger projects is 28 apartments further down the road towards the Nice Egg intersection. And they've started construction now, the foundation end, but they're not near completion.
Those are pretty good numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, our goal is to make more units available. We're hitting those metrics. Do you have any sort of update on the Freeze Road development, the INHS?
No, they have not pulled permits yet. I would have heard if they didn't receive their funding in December. So they probably have that package.
That's the 53 unit development that everyone's eager to see move forward. Well, most everyone.
Yeah.
And one that the town made some investments in ourselves in terms of reducing our property taxes in return for pilot. So we put some
So I'll
skin
try
in.
and get an update on that for next month. I assume
Yeah.
they're in the stages of getting all their final designs done.
Absolutely. Okay. Did any of you attend I don't want to get off subject. Is that all from?
Yep.
There was a housing breakout session at the Association of Towns meeting that gave us some ideas about how to attract more development to the town. Well, we can tell you about it later. But there are more things that we can do to make our town housing friendly. We need to keep in mind. Next on the list, we have the dog control officer. We're hearing is off to a great start.
Hi,
Welcome.
how are you guys doing?
Oh.
So I won't be too long. My name's Retta. So I wanted to start by talking about the dog enumeration program. Bambi and I have been talking a bit about revamping this program, which hasn't been occurring since COVID times, is my understanding. So I shared with you guys a poster that I made that I'm hoping to hang in local businesses, and I'm open to your feedback on that if you'd like to make any changes. Especially in regards to the date, but also discussing, since this isn't in my contract as a DCO, whether or not it is something that the town wants to move forward with, the dog enumeration. Okay. I have April 25th as a start date. I thought starting before the busy season, which tends to be late spring and all throughout the summer, would give us a little bit of a vamp in the program and a head start before we get too busy. It would be myself and Tracy Barton, who is approved to cover for me for dog control officer duties. So, okay.
Yeah, so did you send it to the town board? Because I don't have a message from you.
Cassie.
Cassie sent it.
Yes,
Yep,
yesterday.
And I do have a copy of the poster I can pass to you if you need as well.
I think you'll get nothing but support from us on this. If we want to empower you, so if you have a good idea, we want you to propose it and we'll probably approve it, because this sort of thing seems like it'd be a useful thing to do. Another thing that I'm not sure if we are doing, but we've talked about doing is featuring, a pet of the month or something in our newsletter. And are you doing that already?
Well, I'd love to do that, but all the dogs are adopted right now. So maybe that'll be something that we'll talk more about in the spring or summer if.
Okay,
we get into the
that's a
busy
nice
season. I do have one dog left at the shelter, but we're doing some behavior modification on her, so I won't be listing her anytime soon for adoption.
If you don't mind me asking, what are you doing that is causing all the dogs to get adopted? That's really great.
I think social media has probably been the biggest thing.
You're
and
doing that.
Just knowing word of mouth people in Dryden, so.
And by enumeration, just so everyone knows, that allows us to better license, right? And we-
Yeah, so it's New York state law to rabies vaccinate and license your dogs. Dryden has fees which are associated with dog licensing, and enumeration is a door-to-door process that.
Door to door. So you would go to every household.
Yeah, but every household, so we'd have to come up with a plan. I've been chatting with Bambi a little bit about where do we even start, but going off of the town maps and coming up with a plan is gonna be the goal in the next month or so, once we have a date set. Which tentatively April 25th is the date that I set, but that's subject to change. So door-to-door process, making sure that all the dogs in the household are licensed. Dogs that aren't licensed would pay the licensure fee as well as an enumeration fee, which I believe the town has set at an additional $7.
That's been at $7 per dog, for years. It probably should be raised, but, since we haven't done enumeration in a while, we might want to wait on that. The one thing the board should think about is we don't have a provision in the budget for enumeration. However, in the past, the cost has been covered by the extra fees that we collect.
Yeah, so there's a little lag there.
Gas is a lot higher than it used to be, they get paid. I don't know what we paid last, I'd have to look and see. So much per dog counted, not just the unlicensed ones, but per dog counted and mileage. Okay. So,
And you have time and resources to do this, I take it?
So when Rich was doing it previously, he did it on his own. So I think between Tracy and I, we could get it done over a 2 to 3 month process.
I could see some synergy with this if you're doing outreach as a town. I guess I know you're a contracted employee, but you know, we would love to get some information out to our residents. Is that something we could possibly partner on?
Yeah.
Like maybe a door hanger for Dryden Fiber, for instance.
Right.
We would really love to get the word out to certain parts of town that low cost internet
Okay.
is available, and residents, when they learn about this option, tend to get excited. So I might put you in touch with David Makar, who could set you up or maybe help in some manner. But I could just see, I mean, it's such a great thing that you're doing to reach out to every household. There could be some synergy.
Hey, Dan, if you're gonna create a door hanger, we should maybe consider a few other things to put on there, like, and then once you have the internet, you can get the Dryden newsletter. And
It could be a special purpose. Would you be open to that?
Let's not muddy the enumeration
Yeah.
part though, okay?
I hear you, but you know, this is something that we want to invest in. I mean, we will be.
So what Red and I would do before this started is to get the word out that we're going to do the enumeration and give people an opportunity to license in advance of it.
Mhm.
That's just fair. So we'd have to
Okay.
get right after that.
I think it would be important to give people a bit over a month at least, you know, post it. The ideas I had initially were posting on social media, in the town newsletter, local businesses,
Yeah.
even if they'll hang things on their door. And I also wanted to ask if it would be appropriate to post signs on the rail trail. Because people like to walk their dogs.
That's what I'm thinking. We need to be, you know, using all our resources kind of in a more networked way.
Mhm.
And-
So who would she contact to put something on the kiosks?
Oh,
Kiosks.
the Bridge Trail Committee. And me, I'm the liaison, so I can bring this up to our
Okay.
group. But that's an easy ask.
Okay,
Yeah.
and just go door to door and advise on that? What do you mean by a door hanger?
Oh, well, in terms of the door hanger, just an informational flyer that we already
Okay.
have. Professional flyer, just as, you know, after you've had the talk about dogs, you might say, by the way, another great service the town is offering is this. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but if you want more information, here it is. And if they're not home, you just put it on the door handle.
I see.
Um,
I've been seeing the trucks everywhere putting up the,
Yeah,
Red
and
fiber.
you know, it's not like we're trying to make a buck, we're just trying to include everybody.
okay,
You know, I mean, we're not a profit-making entity, but we have trouble getting word out. And if you're doing something as painstaking as going door to door, we might as well, you know, make the most of it if you're willing. All right, so I'll have, I'll let David Makar get in touch with you about that and see if he thinks it's a good idea.
okay. And then you guys will touch base with Bambi or myself about whether or not the enumeration program is approved, cost wise.
Yeah, we'd need a contract.
Okay, and who's gonna develop that?
Well, we've had one in the
Yeah,
past, so
yeah.
it's just a matter of. But I'll run it by you guys
Okay,
first.
and you would start that in the warmer weather?
I was hoping for a start date of August 25th. I don't know if it's been done every year in the past or if
you
every other year is
It's like
sustainable.
every 3 to 4.
Every 3 to 4
Yeah.
years. So,
What's that noise?
Derek.
Eric.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. What? Could you repeat that?
Thing is,
So the dog enumeration, as Bambi stated in the past, has happened every 3 to 4 years. So I think that this time around, I'd like to start April 25th in the warmer months, but we may discuss changing that down the road because that also tends to be the busier season for calls. So it may be a better idea to do it in like the late fall or something in future years.
Love it. Great.
if there's, I know that there are some community listservs that aren't necessarily tied to things like Nextdoor and stuff like that. So if there's an email that you want sent out,
Okay,
if that's shared with the board, some of us may be able to help fill that out.
okay,
We can share
great.
the poster.
Yep, sharing the poster, yep.
Did you inherit the Dryden Dog Shelter Facebook page, or did you start that from scratch in
I
January?
started a new one.
You have 1,800 followers already. That's incredible.
Thank you. I've had a lot of help from Tracy too. She really ran a lot of
Yeah.
the Facebook and social media things.
That's how they're adopting
so.
all the dogs out.
Well
That's
done.
incredible.
Yeah.
So my next topic would be that there's a new law going into effect pertaining to shelter standards, December 15th. So the current shelter that stands is not going to pass inspection, which I learned on January 22nd with the Ag and Markets Inspector. We had a really intense training with her. She came and hung out with us for about an hour and a half and went down the list of everything that's not going to pass the new standards. The biggest concern that I see is in the drain in the shelter. So the floors are not slanted and there's a drain that's not deep enough to pass the inspection that's going to be starting after December 15th. But the problem with fixing that in the current kennel involves the radiant floor heating underneath of it. So it is a huge project. Some of the other things that she touched base on that wouldn't pass is the lighting. She stated that the lighting has to be good enough that if you see any small lacerations on a dog, you have to have really good lighting in the kennel area. Then ventilation as well as heating and cooling. Right now, she said in previous inspections, the shelter reaches like almost 100 degrees in the summertime, which is not safe for the dogs. And it's my understanding that there has been an air conditioner put in the window in the shelter, which helps, but she said it's still really hot in there. And then the flooring itself, I had the idea of using rubber floors because the vet office that I work at uses rubber floors, which a company comes and seals the rubber floor. That's better padding for the dogs, but it also is better than painting concrete that chips down the road. Or using epoxy would be the alternate option on concrete. But any porous surfaces, including concrete, metal, which has rusted, like on the chain link fences. None of that stuff really holds up well to daily bleach and water spraying with the hose. So that needs to be really thought about in these new divisions that they're putting into effect in December. Those will fail.
Okay, so new regs go into effect December 15th. And when do we have to meet? When will they first come out and inspect? When does this work have to be completed?
They're gonna start inspecting pretty shortly after, but there is gonna be about a year grace period from that time where they're allowed, because they understand that kennels are having to do major revamping to meet these, and it's winter time now, so nobody can really start building or new construction. So they said there's gonna be about a year grace period, but that it should be highly considered to either discuss a new shelter build or discussing potential for like grants and things like that that could come in and repair the current shelter.
I'd like to see that on next year's agenda, for sure.
Is this something we should have a team working on, or?
Well, I think what she needs is a quote, somebody to come in and say, what would it take to convert this facility into something that meets these standards and also the floor standards that you think.
Remember that it's not our facility.
That's right, we don't own it.
We lease it.
No,
Yeah, I think we need our own.
we talked about building our own previously.
642 Wood Road currently. So
Yeah.
there has been some minor discussion between myself, Bambi, and Jason Leifer about these grants and things that can come into effect that will
We do.
assist with a new shelter build. I think discussing location and just getting a plan kind of set on board now would be our best
Okay.
goal moving forward rather than waiting until
Is it
December.
possible, I don't want to prolong this, but now I'm curious, the person who owns this, who is that?
Chris Kaplan.
Would they be interested in upgrading it to meet these standards to retain our business? Maybe. Is that something you might want to float to, or who does that? Do we do that? Let him know that we've got new, is it Chris and?
He knows it's on the horizon.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, so he might want to build to the standards to keep us as a tenant.
I think we'd save money in the long run by running our own shelter though.
Is this something we could have like a meeting with you and like have a brainstorm session?
Yeah, and
That
if you
the last-
guys wanted to ever come to the shelter too, just so I could explain. You know,
Yeah, right.
what the discussion would be and what the construction would undergo, I'm there, so we can all plan a time to meet there
Okay.
and go over the new article, which is Article 26C. And I emailed that as well, but it's also posted online.
Okay. And feel free to email us directly if you want to.
I
You
did
don't-
send you, Retta's monthly report from the first month from January.
Yeah, very impressive. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for me.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So. Next item on the agenda is a Dryden Fiber report from the executive director, one David Makar. Looks like he just left. No, there he is.
Hello.
How are you tonight?
I'm great. Is it all right if I share my screen?
I think we've given you that
I
privilege.
request. Thank you. All right, so we did meet last week to cover a couple of things, the termination of our engineering partnership with Hunt, and then to sign off on the engineering partnership with Vantage. Tonight, the town of Caroline will be meeting to sign off on their side of the partnership with Vantage. I had a kickoff meeting on Monday with 2 members of their team and have another meeting tomorrow with one of their senior engineers who will be leading our partner on the Vantage side. I wanted to share the report for the month of January, everything else that happened besides that big engineering change regarding MIP and everything else with the project. So the municipal infrastructure program continues. As a reminder to everyone, this is the $8.9 million grant from New York State to bring fiber optic broadband to every unserved and underserved home in the town of Dryden. This means every home that is currently only, the only options they have are dial-up or DSL. There are still people in the town of Dryden who either only have dial-up or DSL. Now, we received this award, this grant, because we partnered with the town of Caroline. And between the two municipalities, there are over 500 homes, or just about 500 homes, like 474 homes that are either unserved or underserved, which means in this community, between these two towns, there's nearly 500 households that are either only on dial-up or DSL, slow speeds. They probably could not participate in this Zoom call as it is with these speeds. And if they do, they get choppy connections, they drop. People tell me they have to schedule with family members who gets to use the internet. It's like 25 years ago when someone picked up the phone, you'd lose your modem. That's still happening not very far from where we are right now, between Dryden and Caroline, where people are on dial-up or they're on DSL with these slow speeds. So this grant covers not just access to these 500 homes, but also about 2,200 other homes that get passed on the way to reaching these 500 homes that are unserved and underserved. The grant is a reimbursement grant, which means we have to front the money, build the fiber network, get it all set up, and install it, and then send the invoices to our accounting to get paid. We have to pay the invoices, and then we send the canceled checks and the invoices to New York State, and they will reimburse us. They reimburse us through 4 different tranches. The first one will be this spring. We expect that to be submitted in the next 30 days and then be reimbursed sometime this summer. The next one will be at the end of this calendar year in October of 2026 and in December of 2026. As I said, it's all reimbursement. So both the town of Caroline and the town of Dryden will be paying for their individual parts of the project, and then it'll get paid back from New York State as we submit reimbursements. Before I go on, any questions about where we are with the municipal infrastructure program? Okay, I see some heads nodding, so cool. I think there are now 25 projects across all the state. From what I've heard, indirectly from New York State, as well as from some of the other participating partners, as well as through permitting, we are probably the furthest ahead. If it was a horse race between all 26 of us, it doesn't really matter. It's not a competition, but we are making a lot of progress on the project. And even with the change with our engineering partner, I believe we'll continue to be in the lead, mostly because many of the projects are starting from the ground up. They had zero fiber. And because we already had, I believe, over 100 customers on the platform when we won this grant, it just gave us a lot of speed going into this to keep going. As for the non-MIP parts of the project, which is construction and installation, we are now at 1,673 parcels, which is just about 29% of the town now has access. We are in front of 29% of the houses in the town of Dryden. January 20th, we added 52 locations, mostly around the village, South Street and Ray and Hill Place off of Lee Road and North Street, as well as a section of Caswell Road, just northwest of the village of Freeville. January 27th, a week later, we added 42 more locations on West Main, Wall Street, Highland Drive, and Highland Crescent. And we continue to work with our construction partners at Syracuse Utilities to put more fiber on the poles, as well as with our splicing partner, Lightspeed, to splice everything together and get people online. We should actually have some more parcels live by the end of next week. I have a meeting with the construction teams tomorrow at noon. We are now at, as of the first of this month, 294 paying customers. We had 153 inbound leads in the month of January. That, as I mentioned, a big month for us, our highest month to date on inbound requests. And that was really in part due to the tax bill that had an insert for Dryden Fiber. As soon as that arrived on people's in people's mailboxes, this physical piece of paper telling them about Dryden Fiber, we saw an increase in signups. And as I mentioned at the top of the report, we have changed engineering partners from Hunt to Vantage Point. Some of the key reasons: experience. They have been doing this for 20 years. Expertise. They operate and deploy about 10,000 miles of fiber a year across the country. Our entire project for both Caroline and Dryden is only about 300 miles, so they do a lot more than that every year. Their team size, they have about 500 employees, 50 of them work right on fiber, and they're focused on deadlines for MIP and all of Dryden. So one of the things that they said is, let's get not just the MIP project done on time, which is, this is a New York State deadline of 12/31/26. Let's make a plan to get all of Dryden reached by 12/31/26. So that'll be a focus of our meeting tomorrow, getting everything on track for MIP, because that's funding based. We need to hit those numbers, but then get the rest of the town wired too. There's no reason to, in their mind, with their experience and their expertise, there's no reason to wait any longer than the end of next year. All right, I have a few more slides, but before I go on, any questions about where we are today, who we're serving?
Well, I think you just answered the question I was going to ask. I know Vantage hasn't been with us long, but I was interested in any sort of observations that they might have had about our operation. And
we've been providing them information so far. Tomorrow will be the big kickoff to get a deep dive into what they've seen from what we've done. They'll be on site next week, I believe on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, just getting right to work. And they're engaged. They'll be at a call with Labella tomorrow. Labella is our permitting partner, so they'll be on that meeting. They'll probably attend our construction meeting at noon, and they may also attend our 10:30 public broadband committee meeting. So we're going to fill them up with getting, really saturated in what we do and how we do it, so they can hit the ground running next week.
So we had conversations a couple weeks ago about looking at parts of the town. I remember Ellis, I believe it was Ellis Hollow Road, or it might have been Snyder Hill, that, we weren't sure when we would get to those, if we were gonna focus on MIP, but from what I'm hearing, we would roll that all in together with the same aggressive timeline for 2026, right?
We would like to, in many ways, if you look at the map, which I think we have in the deck, although I might have taken off because we looked at it so many times. There's a map of MIP where we have these 4 lines that come south. So we have this one comes Turkey Hill, Ellis Hollow Creek Road, Janung, Snyder Hill, Beesmer, and then the other side of it comes down Snyder Hill into Route 79. Then we have a branch down Ringwood. We have one that comes down into Ellis Hollow Road, into Caroline. And then we have Irish Settlement, and then this part of Route 38 that comes in to the northeast corner of Caroline. As we're building those to hit the MIP addresses, there's just a lot of other side roads that we could hit while we have the trucks there putting in the fiber.
Exactly.
They may as well hit all these other side roads all around. Like if you're going to be on Snyder Hill, you might as well go to the end of Sodom. You might as well hit, go west on Snyder Hill, going all the way to the town line, versus like finishing everything that's in the red and Dryden on this, and then coming back with the same vehicles, the same splicing teams to hit the same roads, just the other side of the street. The one challenge we'll have, and this is something that Amanda, who is our town bookkeeper, Amanda Anderson, and I will work on, is we have to make sure that all the teams working on the MIP project are only invoicing us for MIP portions of their work. So like if in the morning they worked on MIP parts and then they cross the street or go the other direction, they work on non-MIP, we have to have separate invoices so we can show New York, please pay for these MIP roads and not these non-MIP roads. I think that the burden of invoicing is not worth delaying another year or two to come back.
No, they can figure that
Yeah, I think that's something that residents wouldn't appreciate. That, the MIP is
Yeah, this
great.
section in particular, when we look at, I can zoom in a little bit on this map. This section in particular, where it comes down Turkey Hill Road and then heads east on, I think this is east on Ellis Hollow Road, just to Janung, and then only the Janung part up to Snyder Hill. That means you're going to skip all of Janung north of Ellis Hollow Road. You're going to miss this part of Quarry Road, Snyder Hill. So we're following a path to reach the unserved and underserved homes. And at the same time, we're next door, right across the street from many houses that we're going to be skipping, like Knollwood and Sunset. We had some inbound requests this week just from these roads that are just off of the MIP granted pathway.
Does it help you if people put in requests, even though they're not showing up on the map?
It definitely helps us know where the interest is and where to focus beyond what we have to do by the end of next year. I mean, it's very solid where it's green, more than it has been in the past. The last 2 months, a lot more people who are in the green zone are signing up. But we're also getting people signing up across town from basically from Bone Plain to German Crossroad, from McLean all the way through Ringwood. People are signing up everywhere. I think this month alone, we've already had 49 people sign up for service. People they're requesting it. All right, let me just I know you have a lot of other things on your agenda. Let me just cover a couple more things that I think you should hear about and know about. This is a chart where we're tracking our revenue from our customers. And you'll see it's January of last year, only about $2,000 a month. We only had about 40 customers at the time, averaging about $50 per month. And as of January, about $14,000 a month. So seven-fold increase in revenue in just 12 months. The line above that is our break-even number. We had a lot of expenses that came through on electrical from NYSEG in October, so that's why it spiked up. That came down. We're going to try to make sure that we can keep the NYSEG electric bills spread out so it comes monthly and not have these spikes quarterly or once a year when they charge us. We're getting really close to where we'll be able to hit the break-even number from all the monthly the cost to run the service for the month and what we're bringing in. Now that doesn't mean that there's just a lot of extra money left over. There's two main things we have to pay for. The first is installations. Right now, installations between the labor of bringing a person or a team of people on site to bring the cable to the house, as well as all the equipment that goes there, it costs about $800 to $1,200 per installation in the town of Dryden. Some of these are long driveways, more expensive drops to bring the cable to the house. So we average about $1,000 per installation. And we offer free installation. So we're not charging people. We are relying on their monthly bill as a subscriber to eventually pay that off. So the first 20 months of them being a customer doesn't actually contribute to this break even. It's paying for their installation. The other part of the cost of this is the overall cost of the entire network. So once we do hit the monthly break even, we're paying our monthly bills, and we paid off the cost of installations for each of the individual customers, then money can go to pay down the long-term costs of the construction of the project. Any questions on monthly revenue and operating expenses per month? Okay. One other thing we want to look at before I look at some resident comments is the construction costs from the beginning of the project from January 1st, 2021 through the end of last year. This is to give you an idea of what it actually costs to build Dryden Fiber as in terms of, you may have seen this. This is where I talked to Amanda, who helped build this. If you think of like where all the money goes and where it's being spent, if this was a dollar bill and we're building Dryden Fiber, about 50% of it goes to our subcontractors who are building the network. So that's the labor that goes into getting the fiber on the telephone poles or underground or splicing it together. And that's Syracuse Utilities primarily and Lightspeed. So half the cost is when you see people out there in the trucks, we got to pay for them. They're an important part. We can't do it ourselves. And that's about half the cost of the project. Another third or another 28% is equipment purchases. That's all the fiber itself, the conduit, the glass, the fiber optic cable, all the equipment that goes into all our servers and routers that get the network from your home out to the internet. Those equipment costs around 28% of the project. Professional fees, that's legal, but mostly legal, and about 10% of this 13%, or about about 85% of our professional fees are engineering, designing this network so it goes to the right places, to the right people, and when you plug it in at your home, it works. It goes out to our network. About 5% of the cost is permitting pole applications. This money goes to NYSEG or to Verizon or to Frontier. We don't have National Grid here, so we don't have them to worry about, but about 5% of the cost of building this is permitting fees and pole applications. There's a little bit in loan interest, and there's a little bit of other miscellaneous construction costs. I thought this would be useful just to think about as we're spending a huge amount of money. This MIP grant is $9 million. We have to contribute 10% of that, so it's a $10 million project. About half of that, about $5 million, is going to go to paying for the subcontractors building the network, and 28%, which is about $3 million, will be going to equipment and purchases.
It's a great graph. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Last thing I want to share is some impact updates. This is a couple slides of content from when people fill out our form to request service. There's a field they can say whatever they want. They don't have to say anything. So I highlighted a few. First is currently our only internet service option is through Frontier. Fiber Spectrum is only available on Ellis Hollow. Spectrum quoted us $12,000 to be connected. Our part would be $3,000 just to be connected. So as I shared in the previous couple of slides, it costs us about $1,000 to do an install on average. If you are more than 500 feet from the road, we do charge a per foot distance. But for most of our customers, they are within 500 feet of the road and there's no installation fee at all. We're seeing the substantial amount that Spectrum offers or quotes to people. I don't actually recall anyone in the town of Dryden ever saying yes to Spectrum's quotes. Another one from Ringwood Road, the second one that's highlighted. I can see that Ringwood Road is coming next year. We're so close, just a note of encouragement. I don't know exactly what we'll need. We have 3 buildings on the property. They'll all require internet. So even though we count the number of parcels as 6,000 or 5,800 parcels, some of them like this are 3 buildings, which means 3 different customers that could be on the platform. Another one's very similar. The last one I highlighted here. I realize there are not many houses located in this area. However, there are 3 apartments, 2 duplexes, close proximity. So that would be 7 residences. It's very difficult to get reliable internet in the area. The next slide, also from our form, I worry that we seem to be last to get service. I hope this is completed before restrictive regulations on municipal broadband are passed. We haven't seen anything that says there will be restrictive regulations on municipal broadband, but that doesn't mean we're going to slow down. We want to get this done and up and running and operating as fast as we can. I'd like to sign up as soon as possible. The monopoly has been going on too long. We're excited to be part of Dryden Fiber family. And then we've been waiting for this ever since it was first announced. Spectrum's overpriced and unreliable. We lost Spectrum for 10 hours last night. So there's a lot of demand, a lot of interest, a lot of people who are just challenged with what they have for service right now.
The third comment where it talks about the small corner of Brookendale Road, are they excluded from the grant expansion or are they in it?
They are not. So this section of the southwest corner of Dryden, which is Route 79, German Cross Road, and Brookendale Road, are all in the town of Dryden. They all are serviced by Spectrum, by Time Warner Spectrum right now. So they do have something, which meant they did not qualify as part of MIP's unserved or underserved. But we will be reaching them. Every house, every one of the 5,800 houses or parcels with houses or units, businesses in some cases, multi-use, all of those will be covered by Dryden Fiber. I think this section of Brookendale Road had a local neighborhood meeting because like in one day we had like 5 requests from that neighborhood, like almost like within like a couple hours. There must have been like, let's go online and I'll sign up. So we encourage that. We want to know where people are, where they're interested. We also know that the day we turn Brookendale Road on, we'll have 5 people scheduled that day. So this is what our future customers are saying. The last thing I want to share is from the Freeville listserv, which I recommend everyone to join. There's a lot of good information about what's going on in town and in and around the village of Freeville. It's not limited. You don't have to live in the village of Freeville to be on the listserv. A customer or a future customer asked about should they sign up for Dryden Fiber, and this is what some people said about that. I'll share this whole presentation deck with you so you can look at it in detail. I want to do a check with those who have signed up with Dryden Fiber and the responses from our customers who wrote back on the listserv. No problem, been very pleased. Rock solid, which is a term that I totally love to have people say and use and think about when they think about Dryden Fiber. We have not had any issues. The customer service is very responsive. We've been extremely pleased with the experience. So this is in absolutely no small part to the work that the town board has been doing to keep this thing going and getting us the funding we need, getting us the staffing we need, giving us the approvals to get the equipment we need rapidly so we can continue to build this thing.
Yeah, it just touches a lot of people's lives directly. And you know, you can't really operate these days without internet service, no matter what station you are in life. think these responses are even more positive than I expected.
Yeah, you, as you know, as when I look at the org chart and the town board is the body that hires me and helps me bring on the subcontractors and the team to build this. You're the ultimate business owners. The town board has on behalf of the residents, you've made a product that people really are compelled to buy and enjoy and use. And like I said, your involvement is why this is possible. And what Dan said is true. Like it's not just people sitting home streaming TV. They're using it for work, Zoom calls. I know people who use it for education, for remote education, for their kids to talk to their family members who don't live close by. All those things, plus some streaming videos too. So
Yeah.
it's just a tool that is needed. People who use it for telehealth, to see their doctors, to do therapy, like whatever they need. It's generally broadband is needed to get there and to have that video connection.
Well, thank you, David. I'll see you tomorrow morning at our meeting, unless you had more.
Well, there is a resolution for funding. So one thing to note, if we go back to this, equipment purchases is 28% of the cost of the project. We do have a great, really well-controlled purchasing policy in Dryden, where we as a project cannot spend any more than $9,999 without board approval. So you get a lot of insight into what's going on as we build this, tens of millions of dollar project that we get your direct involvement and insight into it. We have a resolution for some equipment that we need to continue building the network. It should be in the agenda packet. One thing that we do know is that right now, equipment purchases through the end of last year was 28%. We're projecting equipment purchases to increase somewhere between 10 and 25% due to potential of oncoming tariffs. We are doing everything we can to get signed agreements and purchase orders ahead of that, to get equipment that's made in the United States so we don't have tariffs. That's really tricky for a lot of the stuff that we buy. It comes right from either Mexico or China. But we do want to take the opportunities when we can to buy and acquire equipment. We know we're going to need this. If we can get it ahead of time, it's going to reduce our overall costs, or at least the inflationary parts of the costs going forward.
Okay. So yes,
It's 11A on the agenda.
yeah, I've got it. I guess I'm not permitted to share on my computer.
Oh, sorry. Give me 1 second. There you go.
Okay. Everyone can see that? Well, so while we're reading, I might as well read it. Whereas to continue to build the Dryden Fiber Network for MIP locations, more material needs, friendly amendment, we need to add an S.
More materials.
Oh, more materials need, okay. More material. Okay, to be purchased from our supplier, Graybar. Therefore, be it resolved that the board approves the purchase of a variety of materials from Graybar for $65,599 as listed in quote. And I'm not gonna read that, dated February 18, 2025. Anyone want to second this?
I'll second.
Okay,
Unless you want to go. Go. Okay.
Councilperson Morris, member?
yes.
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 Thank you.
You betcha.
And as Dan said, I'll see you tomorrow. We do have a Dryden Public Broadband Committee meeting, 10:30 to 11:30. It's via Zoom. It's in the dryden.ny.us website. You can check it out, click and join the Zoom call. It's an hour-long update with the committee on basically how the public who is part of the committee is involved in running this business. And then following that, a full day of meetings, as I said, with Labella, as well as with our construction partner, Vantage Point. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Lot going on with Dryden Fiber. So now, looks like we have a county legislator with us, Mr. Mike Lane. We're at item 11, which would be your lucky number.
I'm sorry.
We're on item 11,
Oh,
your lucky number. We're
well,
lucky
they
to have
changed
you.
I'm on District 14 for all the years I've been on the legislature. Now we're gonna have it for next year. It's gonna be District 10, so it's not 11, but there's a change. Just a few things I just would mention to you. Dan, you're always asking us what we're doing about broadband grant application for the rest of the county.
Yeah,
And I did raise that issue recently and it was told that we continue to be working, advocating for that grant. We're trying to get $14 million. But so far, there's no movement at the state as to whether they're going to fund the application or not. I think we're further ahead than many places are from what information I was told. So I thought you might be interested in hearing that.
and that's MIP money, or are you aware, would that be the miss
I'm
one?
not sure which pocket it is.
Okay.
It's state.
Yeah, it's one, or it's either that or bead money, but that's good to know.
At facilities committee this morning, we were talking about increased costs for projects like bridges, and I know you folks are looking at that with possible changes at the federal level. And learned that the bridge over in Ulysses, the Podunk Road Bridge, it's got SHPO problems because they've decided that that's a historic bridge. So much as with Red Mill, as with Breeze Road, there's an impediment now to moving forward on Podunk Road. Jeff Smith, our highway director, told us that SHPO doesn't anymore allow bridges to be taken and put in storage for future use, much as we did over here with Red Mill. So they're putting us in, either if you want their money, you've got to do something very expensive, or you have to reject the grant as we did with Red Mill and do something even more expensive. So those things are happening. Driving down Route 13 in the rainstorm this week, it occurred to me as I went through the intersection with Kirk Road and Minya Road, where the state has made a lot of improvements to help pedestrian safety there. Very visible signs, the flashing light, the crosswalk, other things. But I saw these people standing there in the rain, waiting for the bus. And so I raised the issue this morning in facilities and infrastructure with some representatives from TCAT to say, what's it going to take to get a bus shelter there? I really think that there needs to be some kind of a shelter where people could at least wait for the bus out of the rain. A lot of folks come up there from the mobile home park. And I really think that that's one that needs attention. So I wanted to tell you, I talked about that today. It's the homeless population issues that are monopolizing a lot of time and money for the county. We're trying to develop a new shelter, both a new code blue shelter for next year, whether it's brand new or refitted, we don't know yet. Because we can't leave it at the old bank building where it is now. And we also need a temporary housing assistance, THA shelter. And so we're talking about that. We purchased the land on Cherry Street, which could very well be the location for this. But meanwhile, we're having to run the operation out of social services, which really isn't equipped to run an operation like this. We, in the past, we've always had a not-for-profit that has contracted to do that. With the loss of the not-for-profit we were using and on very little time, we've had to hire some employees and basically take that over for now. But in the long run, we want to see it back to a situation where we can contract for those services. The homeless population is so mixed. It's not, there's no one size fits all. There are people that have mental health problems. There are people that have drug and substance abuse problems. There are people that maybe are out of a job and out of luck. There can be single parents with children. There can be sex offenders who cannot be mixed with the other population. Those kinds of things are all in there, and everyone says, well, why don't you just solve the homeless problem? I wish we could. I wish we could just say, okay, we'll just pay for a room and that'll be it. Can't do it that way. So the state knows it and we know it, but I want folks to know that the county is spending a lot of time and putting a lot of attention on this with the city of Ithaca.
Are there models that you guys have seen from other? I mean, I remember Montgomery County, Maryland going through a similar challenge where they didn't have a large homeless population and it kind of grew suddenly. Are there models of solutions out there?
Well, I know they're looking at other counties. Of course, Fumi, our new county administrator, has been spending a lot of time working on this and investigating other counties as well. Dan, another issue that I know is dear to your heart, and that has to do with emergency medical services.
Mhm.
And today we met with Anna Kellis, our assemblywoman, for about an hour and a half at the legislature. And she, first of all, told us a lot of the bills that she was sponsoring. And then we talked to her about a number of the issues that we have. Something I didn't realize, as much as Tompkins County is interested in seeing a countywide solution to emergency services like ambulance, for example. Apparently, the Association of Counties is not in favor of that because so many counties don't want it. They want it to stay at the municipal level rather than to go up to the county level. So that I didn't realize it was kind of a statewide issue, particularly since our group has always said this makes sense to do it countywide in Tompkins County. So I just thought I would let you know that.
I spoke with Steve Aquario over the weekend.
Did you?
And he's the executive director of the Association of Counties.
Yes,
And
yes.
I was good, that was on my list to bring up to you. Whether you can push back on that. His concern is that they don't know where it leads. And they have almost a preset attitude towards state reform initiatives that have directions to counties.
Well, our delegation will be going to the conference for the Association of for New York State Association of Counties this coming week. And that's on their list of things
Yeah.
to be talking about.
Well, I asked him about it. He goes, the counties should the state should let the counties figure out what they want to do. We know what is best for our communities. And I said, well, what if the state attached some money to it? And he goes, well, that could change the calculation. I said, do you think it's going to pass? And he said, I give it 60-40.
Oh,
So
really? That's better than I would have thought. That's
better
good.
than I thought too, but I would appreciate you, whatever advocacy you can provide to him to let him know that this is actually something a lot of counties want.
It makes sense. And things are only going to get worse. We saw what happened with Cortland. With the TLC,
Yeah.
there was a newspaper that they were gonna not do some of the calls, their assistance calls. And the person from TLC, when it was in the paper, said, well, they need those calls, they can call on Dryden or Marathon to come do those. And certainly that didn't go over well with me personally, and I'm sure it didn't go over well with folks here in part of our emergency services. We go into Cortland, I guess. Because we're called there to assist, but not because that's territory as I understand it.
Well, nonetheless, I'm glad you have that information from the State Association of Counties, and it kind of reinforces what I expressed to Corsa about the county administrator, about the need to move forward here with reform on our own track, regardless of what happens at the state level. Because if we sit back and wait for the state to act, we'll lose another year. And this cycle of Dryden subsidizing other communities with our ambulance service will continue, and that's just not fair to Dryden taxpayers.
Right.
And so I am insistent that we start now. I've got a consultant that the county can work with tomorrow if they're willing to sit down with us. And we need a stakeholder meeting. You should be there. Greg Mezzi should be there. Corsa should be there, and we'll bring
Rich
this
John needs
consultant
to be
down.
there.
Hmm?
Rich John needs to be there.
And Rich, I think Ded Mollenhoff from the city should be there. Patrick Cool would come from city council. There's a lot of interest in this.
I agree.
And let's just make it happen and stop talking about it.
We'll call it we'll name the law after Dan Lamb, the Dan Lamb Law for.
Whatever it takes. But you know, I would appreciate if you can, I'll start adding you to the email that I've been sending to Dan Klein and Greg Mezzi and Corsa. We've just got to call a meeting together and see what we can figure out.
All right, I'll carry that back to the group.
Thank you.
Those are the things I wanted to talk about, unless there's any questions. On a personal note, I did want to mention to you that at the legislature meeting on Tuesday, I did announce that I will not be seeking re-election this fall. So I'll be continuing to be with you for the next 10 and a half months. Will do my very best for the people of Dryden and Freeville and Dryden Village. And been my pleasure to serve. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to be around, but I wanted you to know that somebody else will be standing up here next year.
You deserve a hell of a party.
We appreciate you coming here and telling us that directly. I think it's trickled out, and you know, you've put in a lot of years of service to this community.
28,
Well.
just in the county.
Yeah,
Thank you all.
okay. All right. I think with this, we'll move on to a couple resolutions that are in our folders. I'm going to share them. Yes, internal audit. Okay. So this is the resolution. This is the why. This request for the audit. We've all seen that, and here's the resolution. Resolved that this town board hereby accepts the report of the finance committee for the internal audit completed on February 13th. Of the Dryden Town Court.
They do a terrific job with all their records.
That's awesome.
They made it very easy.
So are you seconding this?
I'll second.
Okay. We're ready for the vote.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Wonderful. Come on. It's preventing me from seeing that.
The DEC grant document, that actually ended up being a resolution too. And we have Jerry Shang and Chris Losky from Cornell Cooperative Extension here to talk about it.
Is this the reforestation?
Yeah,
plan?
I think it was the last attachment.
This one.
Yes. Welcome.
How's it going, everyone?
Good.
My name is Jerry Shang and I'm the Climate Smart Communities Coordinator based out of Cornell Cooperative Extension of
Oh.
Tompkins County.
Welcome.
Thank you for your time today and the opportunity to talk about our grant. So CC is looking to apply for the Community Reforestation Grant with the Department of Environmental Conservation. The purpose of this grant is, at least for the state, is to reforest or afforest land to meet the state's goals of planting 25 million trees by 2033. I've spoken with Alice Green as well as the Climate Smart Task Force, and they recommended the Dryden Rail Trail as a potential site for reforestation because they needed a budget for trees as well as planting trees. And this grant is match free. So with this grant, CC plans on creating a curriculum to teach volunteers how to plant, maintain trees, as well as manage invasive species as needed. So we hope to provide volunteers with a tangible opportunity to create change in their community. At this time, we expect to leverage Climate Smart Task Forces. So alongside the town of Dryden, we'll be talking to the town of Ulysses as well as the city of Ithaca. And with the ongoing connections and volunteer programs like the Citizens Pruners Program in the city of Ithaca, we expect to deliver this program cost-free to the town as well as no commitment from the town staff. So what we need from the town board today is an agreement that will allow us as well as our constituents, whether that be trained volunteers or a contractor that we might need for supervision, to work on the Dryden Rail Trail for the grant application. Of course, we're willing to work with anyone who can give us some insight as to what they would want on the Dryden Rail Trail. That could be, Ray, the Dryden Rail Trail Task Force as well, to work out the final details of what would happen on the project site. And obviously we want to follow all the protocols and plant the appropriate amount of trees as well as the tree species to ensure the well-being of the rail trail. And we'll be talking to Jean Grace tomorrow, who's the city forester of the city of Ithaca, as well as a committee member of the Rail Trail Task Force. Yeah, that's all I have for now. So I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Anything you can send along would be great. I know that the conservation board, the Dryden Conservation Board, has some true experts on trees and plantings. And I'm sure that they would love to weigh in or even support. So if you could.
Absolutely. And I know Anne also sits on the climate task force, so we'll be talking with her as well. Yeah, we just don't have details at the moment. We're trying to figure everything out because we're working with 3 different communities. We're just trying to get the details for, what kind of trees are being planted, how many are being planted, as well as the curriculum itself. We don't have anything at the moment. The reason why I'm coming before the town board today is because the grant deadline is on the 12th of March, which is right before your next town board meeting. So what this agreement is a pared down agreement, essentially giving us preliminary consent to work on the land, and we'll have the details figured out with the conservation committee as well as the other task forces.
You talk at all with Rick Young, who?
Not yet, but we would be happy to reach out to him.
Yeah, because he currently maintains, his team maintains the rail trail and,
He's our highway supervisor, so we.
yeah.
We've worked with him
access,
before,
but,
Yeah.
I think it's great. I mean, this is nothing not to like about this proposal. How many trees are we talking about here?
We're uncertain, so there's guidelines for afforestation, but I see that, the Dryden Rail Trail already has trees, right? So we're gonna have to find some justification for however many we want on it. So we don't have a specific number at the moment, but I'm sure that Jean Grace will be able to provide us some more insight on that.
Well, there are places, I'm on the task force and, help set this thing up, and I know that we have some residents who would like more screening, and I don't know if you plant screening style trees, but trees that provide more of a buffer for homeowners between their property and the trail users. So there are places on the trail where that's been requested. But there are also just places where more trees could make it prettier. And so I think we could have different purposes for some of the trees.
Absolutely, and we'll be looking for your insight as well as to what specific pieces of the parcels of land we'll be needing to replant on.
Yeah,
But yeah, so the species of trees that will be planted is entirely dependent on how native they are to the area, as well as what kind of purposes they'll serve. It does also, as I mentioned before, cover invasives management if there is any need for that, site preparations, as well as shrub planting. So understory
wow.
planting, so.
Yes, that's all great. Because if you're doing shrubs, I mean, that's another type of screening that could be helpful. All right, I'll move this.
I'll second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
thanks for coming out in the snow.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for calling us an august body. You're referring to my colleagues, not me. So much winning. Let's see here. So now we are moving on to setting a couple public hearings. The first one being, is there anything I need to show on this? Do we have?
Well, we have the owner of the property at 1274 Dryden Road here, who would like to just briefly introduce the
Is there
project.
any visual I'm supposed to put up?
I can pull up a site plan.
It was
Okay.
emailed to us the other day too.
That's what I'm talking about.
Are we doing 1274? Yeah, I'll pull up
Yeah.
your site plan.
I know.
Whoa. All right, but this isn't in the board documents for tonight.
And it is there, it's just a little bit above because it's a link to one of Ray's planning pages, so it is on there if you wanted to find it.
Okay. Looks like somebody's pulling it up already.
Yeah, I share a screen with that.
Ray's got it. All good. Thank you. Sir.
My
introduce
name is
yourself.
Lincoln Morris. I'm the managing partner of Garden Place LLC, as well as Organic Elements, which is the consulting and repurposing arm for Morse Construction Management. Everybody knows Garden Place as the Orchid Place, which used to grow orchids for Wegmans as well as for the local community. We're now kind of coming out of the last 3 years of development have been a challenge for us. And we now have a concept plan that we think will be really size specific to Dryden. We want to work on repurposing the 2.6 acre parcel, but also repurpose all of the buildings that are on site and make them residential, commercial, a mixed use, and again, trying to reuse 70% of the structures already in place. We specialize in workforce housing. And today, with the cost of construction and the way labor is working to deliver workforce housing is almost impossible. So if you're repurposing buildings, you recapture the economic value of foundations, roofs, and structure. You just have to be creative how you deliver that and a platform that people will find charming to live in. We think we have that. I think you guys have some of the visuals in front of us. We have brought in Organic Elements to bring in some of our repurposed products to make them interesting. Our loft apartments, our timber lofts. The items you see here are from the repurposed studio. There's a 160-year-old newel post from the town of Ulysses. Again, the newel post didn't survive, but a piece of it did, and it became a candle stand for friends. They bought it in the studio for a candle. The dice here are from a house we renovated on Ithaca's waterfront. It's about 170-year-old carrying timber. Elements like this are going to be installed in Garden Place. One of the greenhouses will actually become the home for the repurposed studio. It won't look like a greenhouse when we're done, we promise. But the overall project, we're going to take the commercial space, which used to be the FTD florist, and create 4 apartments, 1 timber loft apartment, 1 2-bedroom apartment, and then 2 1-bedroom apartments. In the back, we're going to build a prototype mini home, which is going to be built in other parts of the county. We hope will be introduced to parts of Ithaca's waterfront if we can get everybody to think of these 4,000 square foot homes. aren't for everybody. This minimalistic construction, panelization, high energy efficiency, and the prototype is in your packet there, I believe. It's attractive, it's small, but having lived in one, it's actually very enjoyable. So with that said, it's 2.6 acres. It's a small project right now, but in order to maintain our creed for workforce housing, we're going to start by renovating these buildings and turn them into something that'll make great homes, but they will be workforce, not market rate housing. Any questions or?
Did you have plans for the existing warehouse storage buildings?
There are right now we're going to start the construction for the first 5 apartments, and we need that warehouse to build it. Everything we do has a component of reuse. So we're dealing with a 1,200-pound timber, and our timber guys go in there and we do all the mortising. It's not like a 2x4. It requires a massive facilities, and so we're hoping that those shops, which they need a bunch of work, but we're going to upgrade the heating systems. We're going to use that, and then we will repurpose down to where you see the repurposed studio.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
There is some discussion, and I mentioned it with Ray, is we also own Little Amsterdam houseboats, and we have a very large order change that took place in the last couple of years. We were planning on building them in Ithaca, but some of the interested parties said Dryden is really neat. And it's a way to deliver boats to other parts of the historic canal corridor. So it's just, houseboats are bigger than a piece of timber, but we're looking into it.
Okay.
Very, very excited about this project. Just want you to know, it was very exciting.
Well, thank you for being patient. It's taken a couple of years, but for the last year, we have been cleaning up the property and we want to be a good neighbor down there.
Thanks.
I look forward to seeing the studio when it's open.
All right, so you will be offering a prototype
Mhm.
for people to come by and see, or
Correct.
potential building that you would, I guess, do.
We'll do sawdust parties, we call them.
Yeah.
It's during construction when things are being built. We like to bring people in to see things, how they're built, and introduce new philosophies of building. We do deconstruction, and that's being birthed right now. We disagree with a lot of people because we've done so much of it. But we will do the sawdust parties and invite people to come see and share their input on what a mini home looks like.
Yeah, so I guess where I was going with this is, will you be staging some of the construction at this location for people who want to have one of these houses? Where does that work take place?
So as you know, in Tompkins County, there's been a strong migration against homes for sale. And the homes for sale because of cost.
Right.
But yes, we want to introduce this as 2 platforms, as a rental platform and a homes for sale.
Right.
So we don't know who our end user might be, and our end user may take our product and say, we want to do this. We just want to be the laboratory that helps them with those decisions.
And would you call these pre-manufactured homes?
No, not at this stage. I have a facility in Ithaca, as you know, Cliff Street Retreat, which was a manufacturing, because that's now being repurposed. The idea of doing manufactured homes like they used to do in Portland with Barden is to have a big enough facility where you could panelize, but you have to standardize your look and your walls to make it cost effective.
Right.
It's very hard to do. But if I were to take this model here and say we're going to build 10 of them, you can panelize that house. That's where you have tremendous cost savings.
Right, you would have economies of scale that
Yep.
way.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we need to move, as a, not just a community, but,
Everywhere.
nationwide, where we can use the almost the assembly line approach instead of, doing your stick-built house place by place. You wouldn't build a car that way. You wouldn't bring in a mechanic and, an electrician to your house to build a car, but we still do it that way.
We have to do everything differently now.
So, in order to bring down the price of housing, it seems like we need a new model. So I'm just curious if this would fit into that. And, what do you think these houses would go for?
So people have been asking me now, what is the cost per square foot? Right now, we've migrated to over $300 a square foot for a traditional 2,500 square foot home. There's not a lot of them being built. No one can afford it, and with the interest rates, and I think when I started construction as a carpenter, I was paid $12.50 an hour. You can talk to Bruno Schickel about it. He was the first person that ever hired me. And right now, the average construction trades for a carpenter are $70 to $90 an hour.
Yep.
And that is being delivered into the construction cost of homes. It is not an easy. It doesn't work.
Right.
But there are, and I'll tell you a little story, is the panelization idea and pre-manufacturing came from our houseboats, not from home. Because houseboats are the same things as small platform mini homes.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about the houseboats, because I'm gonna have to Google this now. Because as we're talking about this, one of the things that's been a big topic in I think a lot of our lives right now is finding single story for accessibility. We have an aging population across the whole country, and stairs are getting more and more difficult for people across the board. Houseboats tend to be single story. So as I look at this design, is this something that can be modified to be single story if?
I have a level affair with lofts, obviously, because of timber, but you're right, three of the units.
They're barns, so I'm with you.
Yeah,
Okay.
3 of the units here all on one floor. I wanted to loft half of them, and Susan, who is sort of a lead for design, said, let's keep some of these at ground floor first. And so the first 3 in there are all ground floor with ground level access.
Yeah, just when he's talking about modular, I think it's very tempting to have a small footprint and go tall.
Yeah.
But I get curious when you start talking about modular walls and things like that, if it's possible to make single stories.
1 stories with vaulted ceilings kind of is in conflict with the idea of cost effectiveness. If you're adding another 40% of airspace to heat and cool,
Right.
it looks really nice, it's spacious, but it doesn't deliver living space. It just delivers ambiance. And I'm not against ambience. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
to keep the affordability there, we have to rethink things.
Yeah, I was just seeing a lot of different topics, but a lot of challenges for people as they get older, managing stairs.
Yeah,
And
like me.
so, yeah, so the living spaces and the challenges there. So I was just curious. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. So I'll be quiet now.
One last thought, you're very close to the rail trail. Have you mapped out any way for your residents to get down to the rail trail from here?
On the original plan, we talked about that, and actually we looked at also Fall Creek because, as you know, we're in the kayaking business as well. And I wanted to reintroduce what used to be the Fall Creek Whitewater Derby, which I've given up on that pipe dream. But we have a neighbor below us that at AutoWorks that we've talked to, and it's going to take a little bit of a collaboration because I'm up on a plateau.
Yeah.
And I have to walk around to get to them, and there's 3 or 4 parcels of private property, but the rail trail is great. I've noticed that people just go below me and drive to the connection and park.
So the next door neighbor, the dispensary that's going in there. I spoke to them when they were presenting, and they are going to provide access to the rail trail, so.
They're right on top of it.
Yeah, and so they're also building, sidewalk or something equivalent to pedestrian space alongside their access road, so. There might be a deal to be worked out with your neighbor up the road about access to the rail trail.
Yep, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah. All right, cool. I look forward to hearing more.
Good. Well, thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
I'm gonna leave these with you, Dan, because you know. It's a roll of the dice.
Call me the tumbling dice.
And those are 170 years old.
Those are beautiful. Wow. You don't?
No.
I don't work for Congress anymore.
Maybe, is he allowed to, can they live here so that, if no one can make a decision?
There's a limit.
It might disappear.
We might need,
Resolution for that.
we might need to get them appraised.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
That was fantastic.
I know, very excited.
Okay.
All right.
So do we set the public hearing?
So the action tonight, yes, set the public hearing.
So we're gonna set a public hearing on this for March 20th at 6:05. and he left already. Did he leave?
Yep.
Yep. You'll let him know.
Yep.
Perhaps he already knows.
What about Iris? I'm not sure.
All right, so we've done that.
Yep.
We don't need to vote on that.
No,
Okay. Next, we have 478 Lower Creek Road, introduce a special use permit application for hemp processing business.
Yes, this is right. It's a business park right on the corner of Laurel Creek and Route 13 there. It's mostly self-storage in there, but one of the buildings, he's gonna get a new tenant there. And this is a cannabis drying operation, basically. That they will just have a couple of employees there. They'll convert some of the inside space to office and then have a floor area setting up the processing equipment. No exterior changes, but it's a new business, so it has to get a special use permit.
Any idea how many jobs?
Just 2 or 3 employees.
Two employees. Okay. All right, so I think we'll set that for March 20th at 6:15 after this other hearing.
Okay.
And then lastly, we're ready. We move on to the next one, Route 13 pedestrian bridge supplemental agreement with New York State DOT and bond resolution. We need to set a public hearing date for that. And since we already have 2 hearings on the 20th, we'll go with March 13th.
Which one is on?
So. Right, just the hearing. So I'll deal with the resolution on the March 13th.
March 13th. Yes. Something the DOT is requiring. Yeah. Hopefully it's the last hurdle before we can put this thing out to bid.
Mhm.
So is there a public hearing notice?
Yes. I haven't drafted it yet. But I will send. Yep, I'll send that out for all 3 of them. Yes, you're looking at a bond resolution. Yeah. So that'll also be drafted. That's just a discussion draft that you're holding.
March 13th, 6:05.
Yep.
Are we all good on these?
works for me. Yep.
Feels good then. We're on to advisory board updates. What's going on with affordable housing?
We had too many meetings, working meetings,
Wow.
this month. We went through the zoning report provided by, what's the name?
Nan Stolzenberg.
Yeah. And you got a copy, the town board got a copy today, the town plan as well. With our comments. Recommendations. Have a good day.
Thank you.
That's all I need.
We learned at the Association of Town meetings that we should be watching the governor's pro-housing agenda and that there will be a lot more grant money coming out for housing.
Let's hope so.
So I assume you guys are watching that as well,
Yeah.
but
I talked to the gal, she said that she would join one of our meetings remotely and talk about some of the programs that they have available. Like mortgages and
Yeah.
other stuff. So I'll invite her to attend one of our meetings.
that's a good idea.
That'd be great.
What group was she with?
She was with the New York State, what's the big group that oversees like HUD and stuff, Fannie Mae and,
Health and community renewal.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
probably it. They were, that was that table next to
Yeah.
yours.
That makes sense. All right. Well, great. Next up, we have Conservation Board.
So, Conservation Board, worked on next steps for a tree planting at the OD Von England, Nature Conservancy in Bob Beck's honor. The Nature Conservancy has given permission. And
Wow.
they are working on a paragraph to provide in the upcoming town newsletter on the intended effort.
I love it.
Support. There was discussion about the Finger Lakes Land Trust purchasing an easement on Pinckney Road. And they were supportive that that's happening, or happened. There was discussion about how the Conservation Board could support providing content for the town newsletter. So more to come on that. And then there was a big discussion around the need for battery recycling drop-off locations. That people in the town would like to see that. And after much discussion, everyone agreed that the next step, if there was gonna be one, would be to engage with the county recycling as we pay the county to support our recycling efforts.
So the county might provide some receptacle for batteries?
Let's not even say that. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole here about the laws of
You
what
brought
you
it
can
up.
do and not do, but that we would need to look to the county for guidance and leadership. Because as all businesses and residents pay a fee to the county for recycling of materials, and batteries as one of those things, so
Would that be at the, like the compost, the food scraps,
no.
separate? Okay.
And we're talking about household batteries, not car batteries.
Household batteries, yeah. So much discussion on that, and I can talk about it for a full hour if you like. I happen to be the battery queen, so don't put that on the record, but I know way more about batteries than anyone should have to know.
Battery queen, you just.
I need it. You have those little batteries for Bob's car keys, because I really need one right now. Battery queen.
Yeah.
You can get one of those at Best Buy, I'm sure. Where they also have a drop off, by the way, right? It's at the door for your battery recycling.
Good to know.
Is that a Staples?
Staples too.
So we can have a broader discussion on that if you guys like.
When the time's right.
There you go.
All right, good stuff. I love the idea of a tree planting. Whoever thought of that?
Mhm.
That would be something Bob would want, I'm sure, at that preserve.
At that location, yeah.
Love it. Climate smart.
So the upgrade to the DPW office building is 100% complete. They have their new windows and doors and heat pumps, and it's now a net zero building. We currently have the bronze certification with the state, and we're identifying activities to go so we can get our silver certification. It looks like we should be able to meet the required points. Okay, there's some pretty easy stuff on there that we can knock out pretty quickly. You guys all know that we received the grant to purchase 3 electric vehicles for the town. The first one is already at the DPW. It's a Chevy Silverado. And then we're also getting a Chevy Equinox for the planning department and a transit van for the recreation department. And then the resolution that we passed tonight for Cornell Cooperative Extension to apply for the DEC grant. That was also talked about. So thanks for passing that.
And that brings us to me and the planning board. We had a good presentation on aging in place and being an age-friendly community. We had a representative come and speak to us from the County Office of the Aging. And I let him know it's something that we actually wrote into our comprehensive plan, that's one of the priorities of the town to accommodate a growing population, an aging population, I should say, and I think they were glad to hear that. We learned that the Varno Auto is going to expand. And a few other projects that were mentioned. There was talk about a PUD coming to the town board, possibly in February, but obviously that's not happening for Cardinal Drive. And that's how would you describe that? I mean, they're tiny homes, aren't they? And
Well, 2-bedroom, small homes.
In
It's looking to
essence.
cluster about 20 of them there at the end of Cardinal Drive.
so it's something I think we need to, take careful consideration of. It seems to be a more efficient, economical, ecological use of space. And I'm really curious to see what they propose and what can go in there, given the infrastructure that's available.
I've also heard that they can create a really good sense of community for people.
Yeah, because more neighbors, I guess it would be
Mhm.
kind of similar to what's in Freeville, isn't it?
Yeah, similar feel. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure, it'll look different, but yeah, I think it sounds encouraging. Other than that, there was also a special meeting to review some of the zoning rewrite efforts, and unfortunately, I was working with my other job that night and I wasn't able to attend. Were you there?
Yeah, they started their, this is probably the first of what will be regular meetings, the first Thursday of every month.
First
the
Thursday every month. Okay.
Planning board to guide the zoning law rewrite, just like they did with the Dryden 2045 comp plan update. They had a second meeting every month to just deal with that one single piece of business.
Okay.
Are we gonna be having a public community review of the draft where people can come and
Yeah, we're nowhere near
Oh,
there.
yes.
we're
Yeah,
nowhere near that?
yeah,
It
yeah.
is a year-long process, so it'll initiate and hopefully we'll have something to adopt by the end of the calendar year.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll definitely be a public process, probably a little bit early, maybe in late spring, and then again, once we have draft language out there.
Yeah, so we haven't finished the scoping for the second phase
Right.
of the zoning. So we hired Nan to do the first, analysis, and now we need to contract with her again for scoping.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, scoping for actual rewriting, but we're doing the scoping for that contract
Mhm.
right now.
Yep.
as
And that'll be reviewed at this month's planning board meeting, and they will forward something for the town board to act on in March.
And that meeting is next Thursday night.
Yep.
I will be there.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm that.
Yes.
I have a speaking series I have to manage at Cornell, and it falls on certain Thursday nights, and that's why I'm missing a couple of these. I don't like that, but
I'm
day
excited. to
day
do that
jobs,
stuff.
they kind of require that sometimes. Yeah, so our planning board is doing a lot of great work. No doubt about it. Very, very high performing group. Did I miss anything? Seems good covered. All right, very good. Moving on, rail trail, I think we've talked about a few of the things that the rail trail is engaged in. Moving forward with the Route 13 bridge, we're very close to getting clearance from New York State DOT, so we can put that out to bid. We actually have pre-written the press release. So as soon as DOT says we can do this, we'll take action, but we'll have to do the resolution next month before that happens. And that's why that's on the agenda for the 13th. We also had a discussion about the washout section of the rail trail. We call that the NYSEG section. And working with a team from Cornell, led by Charlie Troutman, to figure out how to put in a culvert to overcome the washout. So that project's ongoing, and we also have the final phase, which is phase 3 planning taking place. And we believe that we're going to get some money from the ITCTC, which is the Ithaca Tompkins County Transportation Council. That's our Metropolitan Planning Organization, our MPO for the area. And they are, it looks like we'll get $9,600 from that group to help with the phase 3 planning. So that will basically map out how the trail gets from Pinckney Road up to Freeville and take care of some loose ends that are still out there in terms of finishing this project. So we're excited about that. And yeah, I think I'll stop there on the rail trail stuff. Some good work going on there. And Jason's not here to update on ag.
I think the committee didn't have a meeting this month.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
that makes it easy. Did anyone go to the DRYC meeting?
I have no idea who is the
Jason.
Yeah,
is-
Jason,
Yeah.
no, Jason would typically go. Um, So we'll skip that, and I think that brings us to the end of our updates. We don't have broadband listed because David Makar now comes to our meetings and gives us a pretty good update on the broadband work. That's going on.
snuggle meeting.
Yeah. So we're now at the citizens privilege moment of the night. It's our privilege to have citizens here, but that means if anyone would like to address the board, this is a chance to let us know what's on your mind. Oh, attendance. Oh, I don't think we should be putting people on the spot like that. If people want to speak, we're a friendly crowd. Mostly.
It's been a privilege to be here to hear this. My son has to do this for a class
Oh, nice.
in high school.
Is that right?
He needs to attend a meeting. So this is our first time to see a meeting in Brighton. We live on Slater Hill Road in Bethel Grove, so we are part of Brighton.
Well, welcome. I hope you see how engaging this work can be. Sometimes it seems kind of trivial or we're not,
It never seems trivial.
we're not deciding the future of Medicare up here. We're trying to figure out how to build rail trails and how to enhance the community, but we are the level of government that has the most impact on people's lives, town government, because we're privileged to have land use authority and decisions on where buildings go and homes and design, and it's something that we all feel honored to be part of. So I hope that came through in our deliberations tonight.
Do you have any questions about anything we did? Okay.
Yeah.
On our presentation from the new, I keep wanting to say dog warden, and that's not right.
Dog control officer.
Dog control officer, that she just started in January 1st. So she's doing amazing work right off the bat and is getting very engaged. And got all these dogs adopted. So we were really excited. At least I was really excited.
Hear from her.
Hear from her after only 6 weeks here.
So if you need a dog,
She's out.
call.
She's clear out, right?
I know, but you can get on the waiting list. All right, well, without
I
further,
don't know if there's anyone on Zoom that for citizens.
we have people on Zoom, but I believe if they wanted to speak, they would speak.
Okay.
I don't think we should be calling names. All right, well, thanks, everyone. I think we are adjourned.